Hey everybody, welcome to Russo Works. I'm Russo and I do a little work here and there. You're watching Research What? And this is Wednesday's show. We're doing basic technique and we're going to watercolor parts of a Tyranid Warrior. Now there's a lot of stuff we could use, for instance salt, but the effect you're going to get with salt isn't exactly what I'm looking for and it's a little advanced. We could use Kleenex and dab the paint around with that. We could use a foam brush, and foam brushes are nice because they hold quite a bit of moisture. As far as a paintbrush goes, I'm going to use the same brush I showed you before. It's a 10-0, pretty small brush. We're going to use a natural sponge. It has a lot of organic shapes in there, and you can see it holds a lot of paint. So if you want to just apply random color somewhere on your figure, you can get this a little damp and dab it on there. Of course, you can use paper towels, you can use chamois cloths. Basically, anything with a texture is going to work out pretty well for you. As for our Tyranid, you can see I've already applied an acrylic base coat. Nothing crazy. Also, in these grooves, I painted a little bit of green. I don't know what color that needs to be, but that's all watercolor. Basically, you just want to get in all the cracks, and you want to get a good amount of pigment onto the figure. Here you can see I've put quite a bit of black, there's a little bit of red in there, and I've just started to blend it into the red base coat that we had already applied. Now, to get that effect, we're going to use a little bit of Payne's Gray. I could get some paint out of this too, but you can see there's quite a bit there under the cap. And if I just put some water on that, and I'm patient, then I can get a good amount of pigment really quick. And all you're trying to do is get some pigment on here. It might not want to stick at first, but if you're persistent, eventually the moisture will evaporate and you'll just be left with pigment that you can then move around with a damp brush or anything else. Now I'm going to try to diffuse this just a little bit. All I'm going to do is cover the edge with a bit of water. There you can see the water glistening just a bit. And then I'm going to come in with a foam brush just because it's the easiest thing. I'm going to take the foam brush and just dab and dab and dab and dab. Dab and dab. And you can see it picks up paint and it also picks up a little bit of moisture, so it moves paint that's on the surface of the brush around as well. So picks up paint, puts down paint. Now I'm going to just repeat the process on the other side. A little different, but just so you can get the idea. Dab and dab and dab. Pretty good. Next, I'm going to put a bit of this red on here, and that's just to blend into the black. It doesn't matter that it's such a light red. But I'm just going to pull a bit of those blacks out. It's going to go on pretty red, but by the time it dries, it'll be a bit more translucent. I'll use the same technique for the little plates in the back, and here I'm just trying to get little lines of black so I can simulate some cracks further up on the plates. If you put too much red, just put some more black on there. Too much black, a little more red. When you're done with that, cover it in matte finish. Now here you can see it's finished and it's causing some problems for our paint. But again, if you're persistent and you just keep drying your brush out, eventually this watery mess will just turn into a layer of pigment. And just work that up. I'm putting some red on the bottom and some black on the top, and this will end up blending in and getting a little more translucent. And then we'll have that detail from before, and we can put some sharper detail just above it. And the cool part is there is a little bit of thickness between those two layers. So ideally, you will be able to see through this layer to the one below it. Here we'll paint some cracks on, and if you get those a little too thick, remember you can put some more red on, you can pick up some of that black, anything you want until you finally seal it. So I'm just going to continue working in red and black and making this look a little more aged. So I'm going to just mix in some reds and blacks and give this a little variance. Maybe tap around with a foam brush, move the pigment with moisture. So there you can see that's looking pretty good, but I think we can put a little extra detail on here. So I'm going to take some white, and it's going to go on a little strong, but it'll be much less pronounced once it's dry. Then I'm going to put a little more black onto the plates. So far, so good. I'm going to blend some red into those plates because these are still resisting the pigment just a bit. It occurs to me that you may be able to cover the clear coat in some sort of medium, and it would be totally fine because, again, it's a clear coat. I'm just going to try to define some lines in there a little bit better. And I think it's about time for another clear coat. Alright, now that the clear coat's on, we're going to have a little bit of trouble getting the watercolor on here, but same deal. I'm going to start with black this time, and I'm just going to bring that black down and try to cover up some of the red, and then I'll fill in with some more red in areas that I think should be a little bit higher. And remember, at any point, you can come in with a foam brush, and it'll work to dry the paint out a little bit and spread around the pigment in a sort of semi-random way. Alright, there you have it. You can see those cracks pretty well. We'll put a little more color over that, but I am pretty happy with where this is going. Now, sped up, I'm going to add a little bit more white and just highlight a few places. And again, this is going to be a little less pronounced. Get a little too much and dab it with my finger. You can use paper towel or anything. I just happen to have my fingers next to my fingers. Work a little bit more on the high areas. Just try to make it look like it's a little uneven. Then we'll move back to the little plates back here. Bring in some more red and just try to get some sharper lines. You can come back and put as many of these as you want, as many layers as you have, and it's just going to make it look deeper and more interesting. And there you have it, pretty much done. Finished side, unfinished side, finished side. And in case you didn't notice, there's a little ball joint here. I have other pieces with ball joints, and that's because this Tyranid guy that I painted up has tons of ball joints. I can pull off any of the arms or the head, or I can pull it apart at the waist and put on other arms, which is kind of cool. Unfortunately, all of these joint things, that's a topic for another week. Now, sometime tomorrow, hopefully, I will have the video up for this little guy. We're going to try to paint him 100% watercolor. We'll see how that goes. As always, if you like the video, rate, comment, subscribe. Until then, this is Russo of Russo Works Research. What? Signing out.